Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Krishna. Thank you very much, and very good morning to you all, and for giving this time and opportunity to serve Guru and Gauranga. Thank you very much. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 5, Narad Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksh. Text number 9. Katham swa pitur adesham avidvamsho vipaschita anurupam avigyay aho sargam karishyatha. Katham, how, swapitu, of your own father, Adesham, the order, Avidvansha, ignorant, Vipaschita, who knows everything, Anurupam, suitable for you, Avigyaya, without knowing, Aho, alas, Sargam, the creation, Karishyat, you will perform. Answer. Translation. Alas, your father is omniscient, but you do not know his actual order. Without knowing the actual purpose of your father, how will you create progeny? Extant. Sheshu Kuvach. Tan Nisumyat Harashava Otapattika Manishai Vachah Kutam tu Divarshe Swayam Vimarshu Dhiya. Sri Shukvach, Sri Shukdev Goswami said, Tat, that, Nishamya, hearing, At, thereafter, Harishava, all the sons of Prajapati, Daksh, Avatpatika, naturally awakened, Manishya, by possessing the power to consider, Vacha, of the speech, Kutam, the enigma, Tu, but, Devashe, of Narad Muni, Swayam, themselves, Vimamshu, reflected upon, Dhiya, with full intelligence. Translation. Sri Sukdev Goswami said, hearing these enigmatic words of Narad Muni, the Harishas considered them with their natural intelligence, without help from others. Enigmatic means talking riddles or secretly. Text 11. Bhukshetram Jiva Sangyam Yadnadi Nijbandhanam Adrishtva Tasya Nirvana Kim Satkarma Vibharvit Bhuta Bhut, the earth, Kshetram, the field of activities, Jiv Samagyam, the designation of the spiritual living being who is bound by different results of activity, Yat, which Anadi, existing since time immemorial, Nijbandhanam, causing his own bondage, Adrishtva, without seeing, Tasya, of this, Nirvana, the cessation, Kim, what benefit, Asat karma bhe, with temporary fruitive activities, bhavet, there can be. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Haryashvas understood the meaning of Narad's word as follows. The word bhu, the earth, refers to the field of activities. The material body, which is a result of the living body's actions, is his field of activities, and it gives him false designations. Since time immemorial, he has received various types of material bodies, which are the roots of bondage to the material world. If one foolishly engages in temporary fruitive activities and does not look toward the sensation of this bondage, what will be the benefit of his actions? Purport. Narad Muni spoke to the Harishvas, the son of Prajapati Daksha, about 10 allegorical subjects: the king, the kingdom, the river, the house, the physical elements, and so forth. After considering these by themselves, the Harishvas could understand that the living entity encaged in his body seeks happiness but takes no interest in how to become free from his engagement. This is a very important verse since all the living entities in the material world are very active, having obtained their particular type of bodies. A man works all day and night for sense gratification, and animals like hogs and dogs also work for the sense gratification all day and night. Birds, beasts, and all other conditioned living entities engage in various activities without knowledge of the soul encaged within the body. Especially in the human form of body, one's duty is to act in such a way that he can release himself from his engagement. But without the instructions of Narad or his representative in the disciplic succession, people blindly engage in blind bodily activities to enjoy Maya Sukh, flickering temporary happiness. They do not know how to become free from their material engagement. Rishabdev, therefore, said that such activity is not at all good, since it engages the soul again and again in a body subjected to threefold miseries of the material condition. The Harishas, sons of Prajapati Daksh, could immediately understand the purport of Narad's instructions. Our Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for such enlightenment. We are trying to enlighten humanity so that people may come to the understanding that they should work hard in tapasya for self-realization and freedom from the continuous bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease from one body after another. Maya, however, is very strong. She is expert in putting impediments in the way of this understanding. Therefore, sometimes one comes to the Krishna consciousness movement, but again falls into the clutches of Maya, not understanding the importance of this movement. So we see that these verses are actually coming in particular sequence. In previous session, I think you were taking Prabhu. Govinda Prabhu had spoken about these verses. So I'll take it from where he had stopped. So Srila Prabhupada writes that the great sage Narad said, "My dear Harishwas, you have not seen the extremities of the earth." I think we had covered verse 6, 7, and 8 last time.
Yes.
Yeah. So in these verses, so in purport it is mentioned like, "My dear Harishwas, you have not seen the extremities of the earth. There is a kingdom where only one man lives, and where there is a hole from which, having entered, no one emerges. A woman who is extremely unchaste there adorns herself with various attractive dresses, and the man who lives there is her husband. In that kingdom, there is a river flowing in both directions, a wonderful homemade 25 materials, a swan that vibrates various sounds, and an automatically revolving object made of sharp razors and thunderbolts. You have not seen all this, and therefore you are inexperienced boys without advanced knowledge. How then will you create progeny?" And in today's verse, Narad Muni spoke to Harishwas, the sons of Prajapati Daksh, about 10 allegorical subjects: the king, the kingdom, the river, the house, the physical elements, and so forth. After considering these by themselves, the Harishwas could understand that the living entity encaged in his body seeks happiness but takes no interest in how to become free from this engagement. The Harishwas, the sons of Prajapati Daksh, could immediately understand the purport of Narad's instructions. Our Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for such enlightenment. We are trying to enlighten humanity so that people may come to understanding that they should work hard in tapasya for self-realization and freedom from the continuous bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease in one body or the other. So, if we can recollect, in the previous session and today, we realized that one question is repeated. How then will you create progeny? In text 9 also, how your alas, your father is omniscient, but you do not know his actual order. Without knowing the actual purpose of your father, how will you create progeny? Now, if you ask me a question, I answer it based on my intelligence. But if you repeat the same question, it could I mean either my answer to you is unsatisfactory, or you are provoking me to think deeper. Okay, like something you are saying, okay, are you sure? Are you sure? So you start thinking, "Oh, actually, am I speaking the right thing?" So this is how we think. And thereby you actually alter my thought process. So same way by asking the same question, Narada Muni is altering their thought process. Because if you look at it, these sons of Daksh, they were going for tapasya or austerities to get noble sons as their father's wishes, which they thought as per Karma Kand is the right thing to do, or based on the intelligence which they had at that point of time. But Narada Muni is asking them to think that have you actually understood the right context of what your father actually means? And here he is subtly hinting father is not Prajapati Daksh but Krishna himself. So here we see that the great sage Narad has a unique doctor-like approach who diagnoses different patients differently. He is skillful and is skilled in instructing, keeping time, place, and circumstances in mind, and accordingly guiding spiritually. So Srila Prabhupada gives examples just to glorify our parampara about Narad Muni, how he time immemorial does. Of course, we are aware of the examples of Dhruv Maharaj and uh, Bhakt Prahlad, those who were disciples of, or they were first students of Narad Muni. So Srila Prabhupada again gives an example that there was a hunter in Prayag. Prayag is a place in Allahabad in India. So he was hunting in the forest indiscriminately. And Narad Muni was passing through the jungle and he was very compassionate to see that the animals being half dead and half killed by the hunter and they were suffering too much severe pain. So he searched out the hunter and requested, Sir, you are killing the animals. Why don't you kill them all at a time? Why are you killing them half? They are suffering. You have to suffer in that way. Now, it's for a devotee, it's very difficult to appreciate this comment. Why are you killing half? Why don't you kill full? Because we are supposed to save everybody. But here Narada Muni is asking, why don't you kill half? So that's how he is preaching. So this hunter said, Sir, my name is Mrigari, enemy of animals. I am trained like this by my father, and this is my profession. I do not know what is sin, but this is the first time I am hearing from you that killing this animal, especially in this way, is very much sinful. So here we see a Mrigarari is a hunter or an animal-like person who is hunting animals and who is not even aware that if you are killing an animal half, that it is not a good thing. So at that level, Narad Muni is preaching. So uh, because Mrigarari saw a saintly person, he got his sense. He asked Narad Muni that how can I get rid of this sinful life? Now you see, when you are meeting a person for the first time and you're asking him to stop, generally our experience is that when we say, why are you doing this? The person actually gets angry. But here, Mrigarari is submissive. So Narad Muni suggested that I shall give you the way how you can become free from this sinful life. So Narad Muni made him a disciple and asked him to chant this Hare Krishna mantra and sit down on the bank of Ganges. And the hunter said, Sir, where shall I get my food? That's logical because all he knew all his life was how to hunt animals and provide for his wife. So Narumuni said, I will send you, don't bother. I will send you food. The village people, when they understood that the hunter has become a saintly person, so everybody used to come and see him. Somebody was bringing some rice, somebody wheat, somebody some sweets, some fruits, some flour. So huge quantities of food stuff was coming. So in this way, he became a perfectly saintly Vaishnava. Later on, when Narad Muni came to see him, Mrigarari was coming to receive the spiritual master, jumping over the road. So Narad Muni and his friend Parvat Muni asked, Why are you jumping? Mrigarari said, Sir, there are so many ants, so I was trying to save their lives. The same hunter who was killing animals one time half dead, and I was enjoying so much, is no more interested to kill even an ant. This is called saintly life. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu. Some equal to all living entities. Not that simply protection should be given to the human being. So this is practical instance. If one becomes the devotee of the Lord, all good qualities manifest in his body. Once Srila Prabhupada said that what this Valmiki Muni was. This Valmiki Muni was a dacoit, the plunderer. He used to plunder, I mean to say innocent men on the road, kill him and take everything. That was his business. But by chance, he was associated with Narad Muni and he rectified him. This is the process. When devotees meet even a dacoit like Valmiki Muni, he became. Narad Muni elevated so many fallen souls. Similarly, as Narad Muni spoke to Hareshwas, the sons of Prajapati Daksh, about 10 allegorical subjects, Narad Muni explained to King Prachim Barhi about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, is celebrated to be known indirectly. A poem, a story, a picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically or moral or political one. For example, Pilgrim's Progress is an allegory of the spiritual journey. Allegory on Swameksi, Vertaus Kova. Narad Muni described the story Puranjan, another allegory. Actually, it is an instruction of self-realization, to which Prachin Barhi replied, My dear Lord, we could not appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story of King Puranjan. Actually, those who are perfect in spiritual knowledge can understand, but for us who are overtly attached to fruitive activities to realize the purpose of your story is very difficult. Narad thus explained to King Prachin Barhi the constitutional position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. Narad Muni advised King Prachin Barhi to take to devotional service rather than waste time performing ritualistic ceremonies and fruitive activities. The vivid descriptions of the subtle and gross bodies in this chapter are more scientific, and because they are given by great sage Narad, they are authoritative. After considering these by themselves, the Harishvas could understand that the living entity encased in the body seeks happiness but takes no interest in how to become free from his engagement. To elaborate and emphasize this realization further, Sri Prabhupada explains elsewhere, and we could use as examples. So in Canto 7, Prahlad instructs his demonic schoolmates. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying, my dear friends, to his classmates, imagine a school-going child preaching to his classmates. O sons of demons, it is certain that no one bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been able to liberate himself from material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material laws. They are factually addicted to sense gratification and their target is women. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hands of attractive women. Victimized by such a conception of life, they become surrounded by children, grandchildren, and then great grandchildren. And thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. Therefore, although you are sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narayan, the origin of all demigods, because the ultimate goal for devotees of Narayan is liberation from the bondage of material existence. My dear sons of demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan is the original Super Soul, the father of all living entities. Consequently, there are no impediments to pleasing him or worshipping him under any conditions. Whether one be a child or an old man, the relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a fact, and therefore there is no difficulty in pleasing the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, who is infallible and indefatigable, is present in different forms of life, from the inert living beings, starvas, such as the plants, to Brahma, the foremost creator living being. He is also present in various material creations and in the material elements, the total material energy and the modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna, as well as the unmanifested material nature and false ego. Although he is one, he is present everywhere, and he is also the transcendental super soul, the cause of all causes, who is present as the observer in the course of the heart of the living entities. He is indicated at which is pervaded and as well pervading super soul, but actually cannot be indicated. He is changeless and undivided. He is simply perceived as the supreme Satchidanand, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Therefore, being covered by certain curtain of external energy to the atheist, he appears non-existent. Therefore, my dear young friends, born of demons, please act in such a way that Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity or duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. Nothing is unobtainable for devotees who have satisfied the Supreme Person of Godhead, who is the cause of all causes, the original source of everything. The Lord is the reservoir of unlimited spiritual qualities for devotees, therefore, who are transcendental to the modes of material nature. What is the use of following the principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, which are all automatically obtained under the influence of modes of nature? We devotees always glorify the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore we need not ask for anything in terms of dharma, kam, earth, and moksha. Another example is of King Rishabdev, who is incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he was the original Bhagavan. Consequently, he is described herein as Yogeshwar, which indicates that he has the most powerful spiritual potency. In Canto 5, Lord Rishabdev's teachings to his sons, Srila Prabhupada describes the Bhagavad Dharma, the religious principles in devotional service that transcend religious principles for liberation and the mitigation of material misery. He states that a human being should not work hard like dogs and hogs for sense gratification. The human life is especially meant for the revival of our relationship with the Supreme Lord, and to this end, all kinds of austerities and penances should be accepted. By austere activities, one's heart can be cleansed of material contamination, and as a result, one can be situated on the spiritual platform. To attain this perfection, one has to take shelter of a devotee and serve him. Then the door of liberation will open. Those who are materially attached to women and sense gratification gradually become entangled in material consciousness and suffer miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Those who are engaged in general welfare of all and who are not attached to children and family are called Mahatmas. Those who are engaged in sense gratification, who act piously or impiously, cannot understand the purpose of the soul. Therefore, they should approach a highly elevated devotee and accept him as a spiritual master. By his association, one will be able to understand the purpose of life. Under the instruction of such a spiritual master, one can attain devotional service to the Lord, detachment from material things, and tolerance of material misery and distress. One can there then see all living entities equally, and one becomes very eager to know all transcendental subject matters. Endeavoring persistently for the satisfaction of Krishna, one becomes detached from wife, children, and home. He is not interested in wasting time. In this way, one becomes self realized. A person advanced in spiritual knowledge does not engage anyone in material activity, and one who cannot deliver another person by instructing him in devotional service should not become a spiritual master, father, mother, demigod, or husband. Instructing his 100 sons, Lord Rishabdev advised them to accept their eldest brother Bharat as their guide and Lord, and thereby serve him. Of all living entities, the Brahmanas are the best, and above the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas are situated in an even better position. Serving a Vaishnava means serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. So, in conclusion, our Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for such enlightenment. We are trying to enlighten humanity so that people may come to the understanding that they should work hard in tapasya for self-realization and freedom for continuous bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease in one body after another. And to realize that Maya, however, is very strong, she is expert in putting impediments in the way of this understanding. Therefore, someone once come to Krishna consciousness movement, but again falls in the clutches of Maya, not understanding the importance of this movement. So, thank you very much for your time and patience. So, any questions or any comments?
No comments.
Actually, what we are doing is following parampara, and we are repeating what we heard with the original source being Krishna himself through his devotees. So, what I speak here is the same thing what Krishna does through Sri Prabhupada and through his books, through his works. So, would like to ask any question, any comment? Right? Because today's session was extension of your session only. In fact, your session and this session make it a complete session.
How to develop attachment to Krishna so that we can understand our position more spiritually, to be free from the engagement of this material world.
Your question is very interesting and very intelligent. I hope I can answer it. You are saying how to advance in Krishna consciousness so that we can overcome our thoughts which are basically restricted to the engagement of this body, or we continue to identify ourselves with this material body. To come from that consciousness to a realization where we understand that Krishna is our sole objective. Well, it's very interesting, very deep question. I could relate an example. When we see a baby is born, and we watch that baby to slowly start turning, firstly moving hands and feet, and slowly turning around, and then slowly crawling. And over a period of time, that baby learns to walk, of course, with the guidance from his parents or bona fide representatives of Krishna. And slowly, baby starts walking and then running. So same thing we could say, and talking about the same example, one of the subjects, so like it is said that queen of subjects is mathematics when we are learning in school. Of all the subjects you can understand once, but mathematics has typical habit, like even if you understand and if you're not practicing, you tend to make mistakes and forget. So same thing is about the spiritual life, is that first of all, like we saw various examples how Narada Muni is expertly looking at various people, right from Harishwas, who just tells them once. He just not even tells them. He just tells them something, and then he asks, "How will you produce progeny?" And just by this one question, they are smart enough to understand. Like Arjun was good enough to understand, intelligent enough to understand after listening to Bhagavad Gita what Krishna wants and what is his dharma and what he should do. Krishna was not forcing, neither Narada Muni is forcing any of these people they are talking to, but they are just guiding them to correct their thought process and not even hinting in any way, just putting the options in front of them that this is knowledge, and based on this knowledge, what you want to decide, that's your choice. Because being a typical Vaishnava also means being totally compassionate. So they just leave the information, leave the knowledge, and expect them to follow what they think is right. But whatever they will take a guided decision. So same way, if we are following Srila Prabhupada's books, we'll be of course making a mistake like the newborn baby many times. But if we persist, like if you realize that if a baby is trying to learn to walk, especially from crawling stage to walking, from 4 feet to 2 feet, that time is its struggle is the most, and that is the time baby is actually more expressive and more frustrated. Like we see the baby coming in. After this, sometimes the baby will be running. So this baby will be feeling very frustrated when from crawling he starts walking. So same way we are getting very frustrated when we are intelligent enough to know that we are able to read what the instructions are and intelligent enough to understand what those instructions are meant for. But we get very frustrated when we realize that between understanding and implementing is the biggest struggle for us. But if you keep on persisting, then Krishna actually gives us a sukriti to advance further. Like once Shilpa was asked that who will advance faster, who will come to Krishna faster, Western devotees or Indian devotees? He said Western, because Western devotees like that small innocent child. They know that they are far from Krishna and they are running, they are trying to run towards Krishna. And Krishna is giving them resources to advance quickly. So if you realize that what could not happen in India in 30 years of active preaching of Srila Prabhupada in India happened within 10 years around the globe. So Krishna was helping Srila Prabhupada. In fact, Srila Prabhupada was crying before he left for Western world that how will I perform such a mammoth task which my spiritual master has given to preach Krishna consciousness in the Western world. And then Krishna gave him that encouragement. And through all obstacles, he would surmount. And he gave us this opportunity. Today we are seeing and discussing this literature. Does it answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes.
You don't look very satisfied. There's something missing. So please ask.
No. Yeah, I was so sometimes I'm thinking how to get rid of this, how to understand that I have a false designation of this body, to try to get really deep understanding of my original spiritual identity. Anyway, I'm not sure if I can ask a question about that.
Prabhu, your question is the same thing that you feel that you have realized that that what Shri Prabhupada means, that we are not this body. But at the same time, you are saying that how to advance spiritually. Have I understood correctly? From going from bodily conception to spiritual conception,
Yeah, and how to understand my spiritual identity.
how to understand your spiritual
Like,
identity.
for example, we think so much many times that we are the feelings, the mind, and thoughts, and the intelligence there, but soul is still higher than that.
So that the realization that soul is beyond this material conception of body and beyond subtle concepts like mind, intelligence, and ego. Well, probably that's what I was saying. Like you say, this bottle has some water and some empty. So you are looking at the emptiness, but I'm looking at the waterness. You are at a level where you are easily able to understand that you are not this body. Now you are just wondering that how to advance further. So I would say you are being more ambitious, leaving this material conception of body behind and moving forward or running forward and actually go the way the Krishna wants us to go. So what you are doing is the right thing. That's why you have arrived at this level. When you have this dissatisfaction, when you are not actually complacent anymore, when actually you are troubled by this concept that I'm not this material body, this is scripture saying, and my mind is also understanding, but why I'm not able to understand, advance higher. If you realize that the very chapter we are talking about Prajapati Daksh, lifetimes, he saw Krishna personally through his devotees, and but if you realize that both the time he kept on committing offenses, and we are talking about Prajapati, it's a very high designation. We human beings cannot even imagine how high that, how much austerities he must perform. So first time he offended a great Vaishnava like Shiva, and now in this chapter only, the title of the chapter itself, that is offending another great Vaishnava, Narad Muni, by cursing him. And both times he cursed. He is not even like offended. He is straight away cursing them. Basically, when you are cursing a person, you are thinking that you are above that person. That's why you are cursing. Now, if Prajapati Daksh would make mistake, so where are we? We are such ordinary human beings. But since we are trying to follow the very fact we are submissive, we are following the instructions. So Krishna is going to guide us so that we don't get into the trap in which even Prajapati Daksh fell twice. Like you realize that in further verses, we'll be realizing that Prajapati Daksh is still stuck, as in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada mentioned that Krishna is explaining to Arjun that you are not this body, you don't follow this karma. Karma is not bad, it is there, but it is not meant for you. It's something like this: you are meant for college level education, or you want to go for post graduation or doctorate, and you are still stuck at school level. So basically, you have outgrown that level of information and knowledge, and you have to grow beyond that. So that's what Shilpapad is giving us. He has given us background, so we are out of schooling, and now we are going to the college and further studies. Even if you study that, if you are talking about daycare or Paivakuti in Finland, and then we go to Simpuk or that preschool and then school and then graduation. Even the first of all, the qualification of the instructors changes, and their methodology or pedagogy of teaching also changes. And when we are reaching towards master's level, we are rarely seeing person, a teacher out there, but a guide or counselor who is just directing us. He's not even telling us anything. And when we reach our PhD or DSc level, we have to study on our own. There's no teacher anymore. There's a particular person who will be grading us what we have done. Same thing like Krishna grades us towards the end of our life, where we are and where we'll go. So we are already in the right path. The only thing is to have faith that we are on the right path and continue following. And we try to talk to our spiritual master, like our spiritual master is coming next month. But even if it's not there, the books are still there, because many times we are not fortunate enough to have spiritual master physically present with us. That's why Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that I'm and Krishna's teachings are living through my books. These are not his wordings, but Krishna's wordings, which Srila Prabhupada has, being empowered, has written in the form of books. That's why the title of Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita as it is. He straight away says, it's not me who's writing, but it's what Parampara says. with Krishna's body. So basically, if we are following this with faith, obviously we'll advance further. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank
Only
you.
have faith and follow. That's all.
Just need to continue our
Yeah,
practices.
basically, it so happens that see, it's something like this. We have seen small children also when they are learning something. Initially, there's a fascination, there's a charm, like we are playing with a new toy. But once we understand this toy, then we start getting bored. So same thing is spiritual advancement. When we are understanding of something which we have understood, then we are craving for something higher, basically the higher taste. But beyond a particular point, all this literature which is given to us is a theory, which is based on practical experiences and practical realizations. But for us, this remains a theory until we start practicing in our human lives, in our understanding, and transform ourselves and proceed further. So, this, what we are reading, does not remain only a reading or a theory, but it becomes a practice and practical way of life. So, once we understand the transition, we start understanding and transiting in that direction, then I think we'll be able to move faster. That's my understanding.
Yes. As we progress, then we get some new angles of the.
Yeah, actually, it is very subtle. If you tell a person, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Now, for a novice or a person who is hearing for the first time, to a very advanced devotee or Siddhartha, mantra remains the same, but the realizations which Krishna gives keep on changing and increasing. And in fact, in once Krishna was asked, who was the highest mercy? This Narad Muni was asking, and finally he realized that gopis are the highest mercy because when our life of is centered only about Krishna and our thought process consciously about Krishna only, when Krishna becomes center of our life, then we don't feel bored or anything because that's again a material craving. We are still guided by our mind and ego. If we are getting bored by that thought process, that there's something beyond that. Okay, like Gopkumar in Bhagavatam is not satisfied, and finally he realized that he's satisfied only when he is in contact with Krishna. He's not even satisfied with Lord Ram. So that is our consciousness position. Once we start understanding Krishna is our sole focus, and what is Krishna? English or Sanskrit defines Krishna as all attractive. When you know that Krishna, the all attractive, is the sole objective of our existence and our focus, automatically everything becomes comfortable. That's why literally we can say that gopis were uneducated as per material knowledge, but they are the most advanced knowledgeable person. In fact, to become a gopi is one of the highest qualifications or highest achievements in life. In fact, there is this Aniruddha who was the closest associate of Lord Krishna, and he was asking that okay, that may I become a blade of grass in Vrindavan. Now, why was he doing that? Because he realized that what is Gopi's achievement? What is Gopi's thought process? Then he realized that to become a blade of grass where Gopi's feet fall excellently on me, they'll be my life, perfection of life. And we are talking about a person who was so intimately living with Krishna that he looked like a Krishna only when he was coming to meet Gopis to give Krishna's message. So they thought that he's Krishna. So that it is said that when we are associating with a person, we tend to become like that. There's a mundane explanation. It is said that if a husband and wife are living together for many, many years together, they start resembling each other. So Aniruddha was living with Krishna so much that he started resembling like Krishna. But even he was aspiring to become blade of grass so that Gopi's feet, he can get the dust from the lotus feet of the Gopis. That is the highest point. So you're in the right direction. I wish I can have your right type of relation and I can copy those examples. Is there any question? Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Sri Govinda.